Hello and welcome to today's episode. We're going to be covering the astrology of the new moon. Full moon, not new moon. We are at the climax part of this moon cycle. So let me know if you can hear me. I don't see anything happening on my mic. So let me know. Please utilize this chat box. Chat box is live. Oops, chat box is love. All right, let me know. Oh, Irene, hey, good. Okay, so cool. I got a new mic, so I was hoping that would make the sound more crisp and clear. So I'm really excited to talk about this astrology. We are going to get into some Chiron conversations. And let's see, we might, I know that I am the queen of, I'll say, diversifying conversations, being primarily a mutable type of person. So we might diversify. The word I think people use is digress, but let's just keep that open because the full moon is in mutable signs. So as you know, Chiron, I got yod with Chiron. As you know, whenever it's a full moon, basically, I love to go through this brief conversation of the moon cycle. A lunation cycle is from beginning to the end, a pattern that is replicated within our bodies with fertility, and it's also replicated in our creation process. What are you doing? Of basically creating anything. We're always going to be starting in the dark, starting at that new moon phase, starting in the dark, which relates with the water element, relates with kidneys, relates with midnight. And then from that, we start to see the first crescent, which is building up momentum. That's the iconic moon where, when you think of the moon, they're showing that first quarter crescent. We move forward into that waxing gibbous, which is more of like, I think of this as the flirtatious phase where we're trying out our skills. It has an entertainment flair with it. And then from that, we get to the climax, which is the full moon, which is where we are moving from that waxing gibbous into the full moon right now. So what's really important to know about this is that from the beginning, there has been something that you've been trying out, you've been trying it on, and then to remember that we were just coming off of the eclipse season. We had that new moon in Gemini, which was the first Gemini new moon that was not associated with an eclipse. So there was a different vibe than it was last year during the Gemini new moon. And now coming to Sagittarius full moon, we're just coming to the very end of Mercury being in the shadow phase. So there's some new understandings that we have. We have some new, maybe rememberings, things that have been remembered, where, dismemberment, which is part of what I feel was happening with that Scorpio eclipse that we just finished with the South Node, which has a little bit of a break, like cutting things off because it was so close by aspect to the fixed star Algol. So there was some dismembering, some things that we were cutting off and letting go. Why are you here, my friend? Cutting off and removing. So now with this full moon, there is a remembering, putting things back together. Okay. Get grounded, find yourself, place yourself in your physical body wherever you're seated. Take a moment to gather yourself into your spine. Okay. So, with any full moon, there is an overabundance of climactic energy, which it's like the lunation cycle is peaking. In a woman's body, the full moon relates with ovulation. It relates with the high point of the cycle. And as you know, ovulation can equal an excessive amount of hormones like testosterone, that not just that, there's an exuberant amount of hormones in general that has us looking different, meaning that we're more like vibrant, vivacious, we're like plump and full and energetic, and we're out there. We're out there like ready to go get them. So that energy is definitely coming up. We're building into that. And being that the full moon is at 4:42 a.m., 4:42 a.m. tomorrow morning. Let me just have a peek here. 4:52 a.m. on the 14th, which would be tomorrow morning. We're really getting there right now with that climactic energy. And that's collectively. Now, the way this relates with your own internal cycle, that's a topic for another time. I have some videos here on YouTube. I also have a full course on the lunation cycle, how to work with your own fertility in relation to the lunation cycle. So that is a possibility and something that I really love for men to do, because, women, we have very much a strong connection to that lunation cycle in the sky as it relates to our fertility. Men have that connection, it's just not visibly felt, and maybe felt. Okay, visibly isn't felt. So there's no visible proof of that connection as there is for women, but you still have it. Okay, so let's start off by looking at the degree point. Moon will be at 23 Sagittarius and Sun will be at 23 of Gemini. So what I like to do with these full moon readings is what I just did, which is get us connected to what the phase represents. This is the ovulation point. This is where we can plant the seeds that we want to, just like when you want to create a child during the ovulation phase, is when you would plant the seeds that you want to grow into fruition. Now, that's going to take some time, and you still got to plant the seeds. So let's think about what seeds we're planting. What did you start recognizing 2 weeks ago with that Gemini new moon? What did you start recognizing as a new inspiration or desire for understanding something? Because Gemini has to do with, the way it looks to me is like this bifurcation. So as spirit has to descend, just like you have to plant the seed, there is this, if you've ever seen a seed fall from a tree, it really looks like spirit spiraling down. They literally will spiral down and connect in with the earth to then germinate, to then bifurcate. So Gemini season is where we see in our gardens the little plants become just from the sprout to have the two. In our physical body, Gemini is where we have these two hands. So it represents this portion of us. which is where our heart is able to express itself through this pathway and come out through the hands. There's a phrase my friend Corinne, who I used to work with in massage for years and years, she had it on her business card, which said, "Love is made manifest through the hands. Work is love made manifest through the hands." Something like that. It's probably a quote from somebody. I'm not sure, but thinking about that, like the heart is able to express itself out through the hands. Okay, so what other Gemini themes I want to talk about? This also has to do with our shadow. What I have heard, one of my favorite teachers for lucid dreaming named Charlie Morley, he talks about, and I'm sure it's not his because I have heard other people talk about this, which is the golden shadow. So we think about shadow work. I get kind of cringy when I hear people say, "Oh, you need to do shadow work," or like, "Oh, that's the shadow work." I'm like, okay, well, if you can put it into a little bumper sticker phrase, that's probably not the shadow work. So the reason I mentioned Charlie Morley is because he talks about this golden shadow, which has to do, okay, come back here to Gemini with this bifurcation. Gemini is the twins. There's a saying was something about the right hand not knowing what the left hand is doing. Okay, think about this. We have this shadow. Okay, one of them, I got chills because one of them is this golden shadow, which is our gifts, our talents, our skills, things that we are so amazing about, but we don't want to walk around and be like so proud of ourselves. Or what are these words like, oh, she's conceited, or oh, she's whatever. We have all these terms for whenever somebody is proud of themselves. They're honoring their golden shadow, they know their gifts. Okay. And there is this other shadow, which has more to do with, okay, so over here, I'm like, oh, don't let anybody see how wonderful you are. So let's just keep dumping on, keep dumping on, oh, I'm getting ready to, this is just a little side diversity, digression in the topic. I have a 25-year high school reunion coming up this weekend. I just found out about that on Sunday. What's today? Monday? Yesterday. And or no, maybe it was on Saturday. And I'm like, oh my God, am I going? And then now it seems like I'm going to the high school reunion, and some many things that I never talk about at this phase of my life have come up. And I'm kind of like stunned, like, oh my God, all these people from high school, the only things they know about me are things that I would never want anybody to know about me, which has inspired a series of videos that I'm going to do, possibly starting today. Um, Not for any work related things. It's not courses that I'm making. It's just a series of videos called Conversations I Would Never Have. And so this is going to be, the fact that I got married to somebody when I was 18 years old, and the horrendous things that I did at that time, not being able to communicate properly, not knowing nonviolent communication, not knowing who I was or what I needed, and being in this disaster train wreck. And he's going to be at the reunion. So the only reason I'm like, this is all just coming up to me. Like, I personally forget that I got married at that such young age because it was so traumatic and embarrassing. Like, I don't talk about it. So this this shadow aspect. Okay, so now everybody here, you guys who are watching, yes, I know, Justin, trust me, there's a whole reality that nobody knows about. I'm going to talk about it in the series of conversations that I can never have, and the marriage will be the first one, and my feelings about him. Like, I had a crush on this. I'm still diversifying the conversation. Okay. I'm coming back to the golden shadow and the other shadow, which we might call the dark shadow. So I had a crush on this person since I was a little kid. And he worked at Safeway. So every time we went to the grocery store, my mom would take us through his line because I would get so like, oh my God, it's Brandon. And I didn't know, I never met him, but I saw his name badge say Brandon. And that was like 4 years of this. And then my high school graduation, 1997, this guy shows up at a high school party where we're like doing the Ouija board that night and like drinking way too much. And it was like a graduation party. He shows up and I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing here? Because we drove an hour to the grocery store because I lived in such a small town, and he must have lived where the grocery store was. And we're up at this party in the, you know, I forget what you call it, like in the sticks or at the river, or maybe it was the cemetery. I can't even really remember where we were, but like out there. We weren't at somebody's house. We were like out in nature at this party. And he shows up. And that was in May. We were married by October. So, okay. Now I have so many feelings about that and so many things that are just coming up randomly. And so type in this chat box here if, since now Mercury has just entered back into Gemini, we're almost out of the shadow phase. So there could be like new things popping up into awareness, new things to deal with, to work with, something surprising. We do have that Venus Uranus conjunction that happened exact on the 11th, the exact same day that I found out that we were having this high school reunion and that my first husband, I don't even like calling him my ex-husband because I honestly don't remember getting divorced. But I'm pretty sure we are divorced. So I'm pretty sure we are. But like when I searched his name last night on the internet, everything in those search profiles, my name is associated with. So, and the same thing for me, when I search my name, his name comes up in that little section where it's like possible relationships, associations. Like I'm the second person or third person on his, and he's like the second or third person on mine. And it's like, that was 23 years ago. I'm pretty sure we're divorced because when I joined boot camp, we were not divorced. And I had to like go through a divorce process from boot camp. So anyway, diversification of the conversation is now over. We're coming back over here to the shadow aspects. We never think about Gemini as anything related to shadow because Gemini is this time of year. It's festival season. It's fun, it's spontaneous, playful, joyful. It's when it starts getting hot and we start having like hot girl summer. We just finished Taurus season of like slow sensuality. It's like when a pot is simmering, and then Gemini season is when it's ready to serve. And so we get very excited and playful. And I just always think about festivals. So what happens at festivals, I really don't know because I've never been to a festival. I've never been to any of these Coachella or Burning Man or any of those things. So Gemini, as this bifurcation, definitely is related to shadow. There is a part of Gemini that has to do with talk, 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 talk. If you know any Gemini people who are like strongly featuring Gemini, they probably are very conversationalist, but in this kind of way that's like doesn't go very deep into the conversation. It can be deep topics where it'll just like bust in something about quantum physics and then move on to the next topic about avocados or something like that. It doesn't go to the deeper layers, whereas Sagittarius, which is the opposite sign of Gemini, is like, whoa, 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 what did you say about quantum physics and where's the proof and how does this apply? And, because Sagittarius wants to take that information and make meaning out of it. So when we get to that opposition with Sagittarius, it has the phrase philosophy, philo, meaning love, and then Sophia, which is knowledge, the love of knowledge. So philosophy is like wanting to take all that information that Gemini is just like fast, okay? Gemini is air in the form of thoughts. It's very fast. You can never say the amount of things you're thinking, not just because you shouldn't, it's because it's literally impossible to speak as fast as the thoughts are coming out for most people. Now, if you have a strong Gemini, a moon in Gemini or sun in Gemini, or like some Gemini stellium, Mercury with Gemini, you may be able to rapid fire stream of consciousness, say everything you're thinking. I feel sorry for people around you because that is just way too much. And then from all of that rapid information, Gemini, mutable. Mutable signs have to do with bridges between things. So let's look at that mutability also, because this full moon is in polarity. It is the polarity between two mutable signs. So this tells me that we are having a lot of mutability at this full moon, and that we haven't even started looking at the aspects being made yet. So we are going to get into that. Now, when you think about where the moon is, it's in Sagittarius, wants to make meaning. It wants to find the truth in what Gemini has been rambling about and moving, scooting from like topic to topic. The Sagittarius, moon in Sagittarius wants to, I think of this as that the love of knowledge, wanting to build upon one of these things, at least one or three of the things that Gemini has been motoring on about. Okay, so let's do that now. Let's make a meaning here. Okay, so Sagittarius has to do with jovial expansion, generosity, philosophies, expansion of consciousness, truth, and evolution of our soul. So look at where these are on your chart. First and foremost, that's the first thing I always do. Okay, so what house is this happening for me personally? Look at that for yourself. What house? If you look at Gemini, all right, so I'm a Taurus rising, so Gemini would be my second house. So the sun is in my second house. Every year during Gemini season, sun transits my second house. This is going to every year, there's a pattern here that's created every Gemini season. So knowing that, you can look over to the opposite house, which for me would be the eighth. That's where Sagittarius is. So look on your chart. It's easy to figure out if you know your rising sign. You can think and find out, or you can just look at your chart if you are following along with astrology at that level. I understand some people are not there yet. They don't have their chart memorized. So please take a moment, pause the video if you're watching the replay. All right, Irene, I knew you would know, 6th and 12th. So let's, what I'm going to do now is talk about the major aspects being made to the full moon. And then in the second half of this live, we're going to go back and forth. You guys are going to let me know what's happening on your chart. I got Irene. She'll be first, the 6th and the 12th. And then you just punch it in there over here in the chat box. Let me know what houses the full moon are engaging for you, and I will give you a short, somewhat, this could be something that you're experiencing right now. Okay, so very mind blowing for me because I've been watching Mars and Chiron getting closer together ever since Mars entered into Aries. I was like, oh man, what's going to happen when Mars reaches Chiron? Mars, being the planet of assertion, Mars is a combination of Eris. Mm. Okay, so Eris is the god of war. Eros is the god of desire. So Mars has this aspect of being that that type of passion that has to do with the ego. Not the ego in that sense of like my ego or like thinking certain things about yourself, but that sense of the your identity and then your power to go get things that you want, to assert yourself. The phrase that I like for this: Mars, my ability to penetrate reality with my will. So Mars in Aries has this very competitive, sweaty, edgy, go out there and say it first, do it first, be fastest, better, stronger. It's a competitive Mars that is on fire. And it is also very, these words come up as maybe you're going to think it's not the golden shadow, but it's an aspect of Mars: anger, aggression, rage, and it's all these fiery emotions that spark us to do something, that get us to take action. So when I was noticing all these feelings in me about this high school reunion and the people and the situation with that person I married and apparently divorced, but not before I did horrible things to and with and for and with. A lot of it was we both participated in these things. um to face that person and most probably his sisters who were my friends. um and it's so weird, like throughout high school I was friends with these two girls and I never knew that it was their brother who I had the crush on. Like I had no way of knowing because they never talked about him, and I just didn't know. Anyway, so Mars wants to go out there and like do things. And so in the moments of me having these emotions of like, oh, my own, like, oh my God, and I'm ashamed and I'm nervous and I'm excited and I'm like all these things, feeling bad and feeling so many things. This sparks some desire to go do something. Then I was like, oh, I need to do this series of videos. It's mostly for my own healing. And I think possibly you might find some healing in that too, exposing these things that are really, it's very human and very challenging to own our part in the play of reality. So that Mars energy get us to take an action basically as well. Now Mars coming in with Chiron. Chiron is known as the wounded healer. I call Chiron the alchemist because the mythology of Chiron goes from his creation to his abandonment to his being adopted by Apollo, the sun god, and learning astrology, astronomy, the art of war, the art of healing, prophecy, music, science, everything, every aspect of being a human was that knowledge was bestowed upon Chiron. Chiron then makes this medicine, this poison that he drops on himself. There's a couple of different stories. One is that the centaurs came in and there's this, they're drunk and acting a fool, and Chiron gets shot in with an arrow that had been dipped in his own medicine. That's one story. Another story is like he just was making the poison and drops it on himself, therefore wounding himself cannot heal the wound because he is the strongest of the medicine people. And his best student can't heal him even. So he spends the rest of his, because he's a demigod, he can't die. So he has to live with the pain and agony of, what's this phrase? They say having to take your own medicine. And I had this moment when the things that I had done earlier in my life happened to me, and I couldn't get through it. And it was like, oh, you get to taste your own medicine now. And I really had a sense of what that is about. That will be video 2 in the series, Conversations That I Can't Have. So please come back to my channel and look for this. So this will be when I took my own medicine. And it's something that you will never heal from, like Chiron, excuse me, cannot heal from the wound. So what Chiron does is goes to who is it, Zeus, and says, okay, here's Prometheus that's been up here on this rock for all of time for stealing fire from the gods. Prometheus's punishment was to be posted up, chained to a rock. This big vulture comes every day, eats out the liver of Prometheus, and then again in the morning, the liver grows back, and Prometheus has to go through this cycle. And every aspect of that story in that mythology has deep and profound meaning. So I don't mean to just make it a short story like this. I'm telling the mythology briefly to give you an idea of where we're going with Chiron. And there's more. I made a Chiron course. I gave it for free. You can still get that for free. Now today is June 13th, 2022. If you come ask me for this like next year, I'm probably going to say no and give you the link to buy it. It's $77 if you want to buy it, or you can use the coupon code, which it's voting gift. I'll tag that in here at the end of this video so you can take advantage or take joy in taking that course, learning about Chiron, and then I will also show you in that course how to find your chirotic signature. I'll take you through how to track your transits so you can find out, what is my Chiron story? This is work that I am very passionate about because through doing that for myself, tracking the transits of Chiron, I've been able to see, oh, that is my wound and it is the medicine. So going back to Prometheus up there on the rock, getting the liver eaten every day. Now here comes Chiron. Hey, Zeus, I am wounded. I am suffering every day for 900 years. I can't heal. How about you let me go up there and take Prometheus's spot? Because, you know, this guy was trying to help humanity by giving them fire. I don't think he should be up there. I'll take his place. Let him free. So there is this sense of, I'm suffering and I want to, you know, free somebody else from their suffering. This is where we get that wounded healer archetype that is so deeply, closely connected to Chiron. So now, what is our collective wound? Because as Chiron has been in Aries, you want to look on your chart right around 15 degrees. Yes, this conjunction between Mars and Chiron is happening at 15 degrees Aries. So you want to look at your chart right around that 15-degree mark. This is something that is deeply being worked for you. And it has been for a while because Chiron moves slower through Pisces and Aries. That's going to be the Conversations I Can Have episode 2, because I'm going to talk about Pisces. Chiron moving through my Pisces was when I got to take my own medicine. Now, I have 5 planets in Pisces. Chiron moves slow through Pisces. So this was a 7 to 8 year experience of taking my own medicine and also becoming the wisdom of my own medicine. So Chiron is going to also take about 7 to 8 years through Aries. So wherever this is on your chart, this is something that it's a profound experience that you're having, whatever planet or point or house that it is for you. Now, if it's in a house for all of us. I just had to think, okay, so it's in a house for all of us. So we're all deeply healing this aspect of our sense of self. Aries has to do with the East, that rising energy of the East related to that spark. Aries is fire in the form of the ignited, whenever you just, it's that spark. This is where the sun rises. So, this rising energy for all of us, we were born into certain things that we did not create for ourselves consciously. We were born into a period of time. I'm speaking for us, who's people who are listening here at this phase of life. We were born into a system that was not meant for us to thrive in. It was meant for us to grind in. Whew. So we're healing that right now. With Chiron and Aries, we are healing that, our beginnings, our initiation into life, where the sun is rising, how we rise into our experience every day, the way you rise out of bed every day. Like, there's been periods in your life where when you wake up, you don't want to wake up because maybe you're going to a job you don't like, or you're laying next to a person you can't stand, or that you've grown tired of or disenchanted with, or whatever is going on in life. So that rising energy, it's like, how do we have the conversations that we need to have, make peace and have acceptance of those things we cannot change, and then the courage to take action to change the things we can change. This is Chiron in Aries right now. Now bring Mars to the conversation, and there is a much more, probably things aren't going to go perfectly clean and right, because Mars goes fast and furious. And there's a course correction that will happen later, just like what we are seeing currently in our stock markets and the crypto markets and all of this, but that's more of a Venus-Uranus conversation. Again, Venus and Uranus became exact on June 11th. And this is where I know personally I started seeing like a tumbling downward spiral of my cryptocurrencies, which what is that showing us about our values, what we have put energy into, and then asking us, now I'm talking about Venus and Uranus. I know I'm jumping around because it's Gemini season and whatever, it's happening. So this Venus Uranus thing, where it's like these unexpected changes, that this maybe is the course correction for us to get a chance to ask what it is we really value. It was weird because at the same time that the market thing was happening, I wasn't totally like tuned into it, but I was totally out in my yard looking for strategic ways to plant more food seeds. Oh, hey, Eric. Hello. I hope you're still here. I'm over here just like for real Gemini talking. I mean, I'm like, Mercury is in Gemini and my mouth is going for it. I'll come back here and look at your guys' comments. We're almost getting to the tell me your astrology thing. Oh, Eric. Hey, yes. I'll come back to that. Okay, so going back to basic simplicity, Taurus is our connection to the most uncomplicated things of life. I need to sleep. I need to have sex. I need to eat food, and I need to use the restroom. It's more of a Scorpio thing, but it's the simple things in life, the most satisfying, wonderful things that is really all we need to do, really. Everything else is an added complexity. So, Venus being here in Taurus, this is Venus is what they call home sign. It's the sign that is most like the energy of Venus. So, I know people say Libra, but I feel like Juno goes more with Libra. So, anyway, Venus coming up with Uranus gives us this sudden change of like, oh, wait, did I really value my Amazon stocks? I don't have Amazon stocks. Did I really value my stocks that I bought in this precious metal? What if I actually bought the metal and had it in my hands? What if I actually bought seeds and planted them to grow food? What if I decided to decompress, decomplex, that's not a word, to simplify my life? Do I really need this huge house that I'm not even using every room? Do I really need this much money that I've been grinding away for? Do I need that much money? Or was it because I thought that I needed to have the things that that money could buy? These are all conversations that we're having with ourselves and hopefully with our loved ones, people who we share resources with. These are conversations we can be having right now. Because as we all know, gas prices have gone up a lot and food is getting more expensive. I saw a bag of granola for $10. And normally when I go to the grocery store, I tell my kids, you guys, like, get whatever you want. And we did that. And then we're checking out and I'm like, holy, that bag of granola was $10? What? Then no more of this, go get whatever you want. I'm just kind of like, you know what? Let me make the granola. I know how to make things. I wish I would have paid more attention to grandma doing the canning and doing all the things that she did. And if anybody has a grandma or an older mom that they could loan to me or rent, I will be happy to pay to have. I'm not even kidding about this. So whoever's listening right now, if you are a grandma or you know a grandma or you have somebody in your life who is very grandma-like, let's get together and share that knowledge and wisdom of the grandmothers because we need that more than ever right now. All right, so let's finish up with that Venus Uranus situation. We're going to talk more about this next week because now that Venus has made that conjunction with Uranus, Venus will be moving to the North Node very soon, which will be radically changing whatever it is that we've been learning with this conjunction with Venus and Uranus. Something is going to happen that is going to be evolutionary for what we value. And I feel like it has a lot to do with what we're talking about here with living simply, being connected intimately with the earth. If you've ever gone out and like hand washed your laundry in a lake, when I lived in India, this is what we did. We hand washed our laundry with our hands with soap in the lake. And then when you wear the clothes later, I mean, then you hang them out in the sun. They smell like sunshine. You wear them later and you have a sense of pride and satisfaction and a deeper intimacy with your clothing. Do you have that feeling with the stuff that you have? Or are I also think about like dishes and knives and all of this. People just go to IKEA and get all their stuff. And we don't have a sense of intimacy with the objects that we're holding in day-to-day life. This is very, very Venus in Taurus. So give yourself a chance to like find somebody. I've got somebody who makes ceramics, who puts all this beautiful mana from the earth, this energy from the earth into the ceramics, which the ceramics already are earthen clay. So you buy something that somebody made and you hold it and use it and feel a connection with the earth. This brings me back to Chiron just briefly. Chiron, think about where the wounding was. He drops the poison on his leg, or in some stories, he was shot by another centaur with a poisoned arrow in the ankle or somewhere in the lower extremity. Now, Chiron's lower body is that of a horse. So it's like the we, us humans, are animals. Did you know that? Do you ever think about the fact that you're an animal? So Chiron being wounded in that lower portion of the leg is showing us that we have a wound in our stability on earth. That we have a wound in the way that we are able to root down with our feet and connect with the earth. So intimacy, into me see. Having that ability to, like, when your feet are on the ground and I see like these little eyeballs and also like little sense, what would you call this? Where we're picking up information from the earth and we're also sharing information. We're telling a story with our feet as we're walking along the earth, and we are learning about the earth. Oh, it's hot, it's rocky, it's dry, it's moist. Oh, this must mean that there was rain that just happened. We are sharing information with the earth through our legs. Chiron being wounded there says that we have a wound in our ability to connect intimately with the earth. So, getting your hands and your feet together with those things you value, whether that is getting the seeds, planting them, whether that is taking your money out of the stock for gold and silver and then actually buying gold and silver and having an intimate relationship with the things that your energy is connected to. All right. So the other things I wanted to briefly, gosh, let's go ahead. You guys, I'm going to read some of these. Start telling me your house positions for your sun moon axis, and I'll give you some ideas of what could be happening there. The main connections that the sun and moon are having is a 90-degree challenging alignment with Neptune. So I talked about this in our Telegram group. If you don't know, I do read the astrology every day. I've been posting it over here on YouTube under the community link. You can find pretty much daily astrology, or you can go over to the Telegram group. It's more interactive over there. Pretty much every day, I read the astrology and put it up there. So Neptune being at a 90-degree angle, which will perfect 2 days after the full moon, tells us that there is some delusionment. There is some illusions, or how can I say? I'm so challenged because I love Neptune. I feel like Neptune doesn't need to be real in the way that Saturn likes things to be real. Neptune has to do with the things that are true, but we cannot prove that they're true because it's meta. There's a metaphysical aspect to Neptune. It has to do with our dreams, our visions, our imagination. So if I'm having an imagination about a thing, or I'm in my son, I guide him through shamanic journeys probably like once a week. And he'll later tell me like, oh, I made it up, mom. When you told me to meet my spirit animal, you one time told me that I liked dogs as a kid. So I just made it up. I imagined that there was a wolf when you took me on that shamanic journey, but he just discounts it. But it's real. Neptune has a different real than Saturn has. So this Friction comes up between Sun and Neptune. Like, what is really tangibly real and what is real in your imagination? And how does that inform your ego identity, sense of self, how you shine out in the world? And then, okay, so if I'm having this imagination about whatever it is in my auric field. It is something that I'm radiating out. I think what makes us like seem schizophrenic or crazy or something like that is like, I know schizophrenic is an actual diagnosis and I'm not using it in that way. I'm using it in the sense of like having all these different imaginary senses of ourselves and like believing them and dressing like them, talking like them. And there's a fine line between having a embrace of our imagination, of our dreams, of our vision of reality, and then walking around here on earth acting like everybody else should see our version of reality as a truth also. So something else that comes up a lot with Gemini is where we have a belief about something and then we want to tell everybody about it and we want them to agree with us. And where it's like, you know, I love when people are really into what they're channeling and really into what their imagination is and what their dreams and visions are. And when they find something that is very expansive and true for them, these are Sagittarius things. I love that. And I cannot get down with somebody imposing their dream onto anybody else. It's just like watching TV or consuming media. Pretty soon, that bigger picture, if I'm thinking of a person in particularly who's like, this is how it is and this is what it should be, and do it like this or you suck and you're wrong. Then basically what that bigger energy does is take away our ability to tune into our own imagination, our own dream, and our own vision. So this full moon gives us, and 2 days after the full moon is when this perfects the Neptune Sun 90-degree angle. So it's challenging. There is a lie. There is a lie that is hidden that we may have to confront. And in that confrontation, oh, what's that quote that says art is a lie that makes you see reality. Something like that. Art is a lie that makes you see blank. I don't really know what that word was, but basically we see the lie and that helps us to clarify what our true vision is. I used to love reading Osho books because of I didn't like it and I didn't agree with it. And in that disagreement, I was able to find what was true for me. What was my true imagination? What was my true vision? By having that 90-degree irritating alignment. Okay, I'm making all these weird faces because I can hear my dog out there like trashing the house. I don't know what he's doing, but I'll let you guys know later if you care. I probably don't think you care, but anyway, so yeah, we're gonna look at this 90-degree angle with Neptune and the Sun a little bit more in the days following. Let's go back into that the days following the full moon because I would love to hear what comes up for you guys. And the other thing was Saturn. Okay, so Neptune is at 90, and then Saturn will be at a trine with the Sun. So the trines are like a Venusian energy, whereas the squares are a Martian energy. Do you know what that means? The square is like combative, irritating. It's an itis. It gives us an inflammation, which makes us take an action. So that is between Neptune and the sun, which is going to give us a untruth that makes us find the truth for ourselves in regards to our dreams, visions, and imaginations. Now, the 90-degree angle being a Venusian aspect, it is more of harmonious. It is more fluid and helpful and bringing a sense of unity. Not unity in the terms of like, let's unite, but let's be in alliance with each other. So between Saturn and the sun, this 120-degree harmonious aspect, again, that perfects 2 days after the full moon, but it will be in effect, like we will feel it during the full moon. And what we can feel is what we can work with. So I don't know how many of you all are doing moon work, like actual building a moon altar, writing petitions, stating it out loud with your words. When you put your words in alignment with your vision, in alignment with your with your heart, in alignment with your pelvis, when you line all of that stuff up and then you do it in the right timing. So this full moon and 2 days after, because this is when those perfections happen with the sun and Neptune and the sun and Saturn, when you do that, this is how we make magic happen. So if you are working like that, there's so much opportunity for really making a difference in your own reality, which can also help other people. Like if I help you by telling you this information, you go out, do some things, you come back, you help me. Just by virtue of me seeing you changing, it helps me. I'm able to help you more, and then you go do the, you know what I mean? We're constantly helping each other evolve. Okay, the vehicle, the ego, Mars and Aries, that's me. Yes, Justin. So Aquarius ascendant for me, that puts Gemini in the 5th for me. Aquarius ascendant. So let me do Irene first. Irene said 66th and 12th house. So having the full moon going in the 6th and the 12th, that I don't know what the sun, I don't know which side the sun and moon are, but let's just look at the whole axis of 6 and 12. So your mundane work in the world, meaning the mundane things that you do, this is the 6th house of brush my teeth, dry brush, do my oil pulling, I don't know, like, whatever you do. This is informing your ability to connect in with the heart behind the heart of the universe, meaning that empathic, universal, loving nature, the whole sea of consciousness, which is the 12th house. Everything that you do in the mundane, this is for Irene, but like it really is helpful for all of us to think about every time you do something for yourself that has to do with a mundane task of health and wellness routines. Everything you do there makes you a better conduit for receiving the universal cosmic consciousness, making you a vessel, a clean, it's like polishing a pot. Now that sea of consciousness is better able to be understood. It's like remembering your dreams and then being able to actually use that information to make an impact in the world. So with the full moon going through this aspect of your life, of your chart, there is a sense of bigness, generosity, a sense of new information coming in. This is also on the galactic center. So there is also like for all of us, there is new codes coming in, new light codes. So if you can get out there and look at the moon, it can really change your life. If you have a moment of silence where you're not talking, you're not on the side of Gemini that is speak, but you're on the side of Gemini that is going this way to listen, to bring new information in. And then you receive the light of the moon into your eyes, and that code of information is able to really come in. I'm taking your Chiron class. Good. I have a deep. Oh, yes. So, Eric, that I wanted to mention this. Eric went and was like telling the Chiron story, and I felt so bad because I was being very insensitive. I had heard the Chiron story. So, I was like on the video like this, like, oh my God, is he really talking about this? And then afterwards, I was like, hey, I'm going to delete that because I felt so bad for like seeming very insensitive. um but then it also gave me an idea to like we should really do a series of connecting with people on the Chiron story, even just being able to tell the story. Like maybe we should get like a Zoom group together where everybody gets to like talking stick style. Everybody, I prefer to keep the details to a minimum, tell the story, piece the pattern together, and kind of like see what your Chiron pattern is like. Maybe we should do that. I figured out Gemini is in the fifth for me. Okay, so interesting. So, Gemini in the fifth, that means during every Gemini season, your fifth house is being activated, which is how you go out there. There's a flirtation. Remember, fifth house is like how you present yourself. I think about when you're going on a date. You want to present your best self. So you're going to put on clean clothes, you like brush your teeth. And I mean, hopefully you do these things every day, but I had a partner for a little while that wouldn't do those things until he was going to go out. And I was like, hey, so you're getting ready to go out. He was in, this is series 2 of my upcoming episodes of Conversations I Cannot Have. This will be in season 2. I mean, in episode 2. But he would like get ready and look amazing. Oh, like heartthrob to go out to play a show. But at the house, his breath was like nasty. He would not do anything with his hair. He like just crust in his eyes and in his ears. I'm like, uh. So anyway, fifth house, this is where you take the time to like clean all these details, get ready, present yourself, show your best self. So with Sun going through the fifth house, every year there is this opportunity for like revamping how you show up in the world in that sense of your creative self-expression. And then in the 11th house is Sagittarius. And during this full moon, your groups. So fifth house, how you're, presenting yourself. The 11th house is going to be those, the word is community. It also has to do with goals, dreams, aspirations in the 11th house, but it's like the people who are like-minded. So from the fifth, you got ready. And then in the 11th house, it's like all the people who are going to see you, who you are going to somehow be sharing a like minded energy with. So during this full moon, that gets blown up. There is this ovulation point happening in that area of your life. Talk away, Scorpio. Yep. Okay. So making up words. Oh, did I? I did make up a word. I can't even remember what it was now. If you remember, Eric, let me know because it was kind of a cool word. All right. Venus Uranus conjunct my Mercury in Taurus. Wow. I was wondering how people who had something or who have something right around that, I think it was at 18 degrees. Yeah, 17 degrees, that Venus and Uranus were together at 17 degrees. If you have your Mercury right there, you may have been like pulling in information about this change in value systems. You may have been like rapidly downloading the new, like, okay, I need to plant seeds. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to let go of these things because it was rapid, loads of information. And then your Mercury being in that area of the sky of your chart, of your sky of awareness, that Venus Uranus conjunction probably is really working your CPU, your central processing unit, around how you are going to, what you value, and how you're going to like actively work to communicate what you're understanding, understanding, overstanding about your own value systems. You may be seeing something that we're not seeing. So hopefully you're going to jump on and share with us what you're downloading about this Venus Uranus conjunction. That's your homework. Yeah, I'm interested in this grandma business. We need that wisdom. Today I was cooking some grits, and I had a pot of beans I put on, and I was cooking the grits, and I was like, you know what? Like, maybe I should make a little video of this. Like, here we got the big pot of beans, the big pot of rice, because my son doesn't like grits, he likes rice. And I'm making the grits, and then I'm like, you know, we need to get rid of fast food altogether. And grocery shopping, I don't know about you guys, but grocery shopping has not been a thing for me, because every time I go, I'm like, what just happened? So what I've been doing is buying online at this website called foodstolive.com. It is 100% organic. They do have not organic versions of everything too, but it's a little bit cheaper to get the not organic. But you can buy like 50 pounds of beans for like $50, and it's organic. And so like, maybe I'm feeling my grandma wisdom coming through. So I would love to participate. If anybody wants to head that off of like, let's get some grandmas in and talk to them and ask them questions. Actually, ask them questions and listen to them, because we don't need to be talking. Okay, Irene, you and Anjani need to come east. My mother lives in the woods in Pennsylvania, and she can teach you about making. Okay, Justin, don't play. If you better talk to your mom first, and if she says yes, I know you guys got like properties and stuff like that. Maybe you guys can actually host us. Maybe a 3-day thing where like, maybe we can camp outside your property. I'm not even playing right now. And she can show us these things, and like, we will pay her for, of course, to tomato sauce and bread, all that stuff. We need to know. We really need to know. If you're a friend of Angie, you're a friend of mine. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, cool. Thank you. I'm signing up. With the intimate relationship with the things, yes. Sun in Aries, Moon in Scorpio. I don't know why you got those little cuss words on your mouth, but probably something I was saying earlier. Just survive in the Navy. How did I survive in the Navy? I wonder what that was about. I'll tell you how I survived in the Navy. I did this: smile and nod, just smile and nod, and then pretend like you knew what they were talking about, and then go find out what they were talking about, and then learn it real quick. This fake it till you make it thing was like, that's how I got through. I got 2 Navy Achievement Medals while I was in the Navy. So I don't know what you were saying about how did I survive, and I did. I thrived in the Navy. All right, Saturn in Taurus in the 7th. What that's about. Ayano. Neptune at 7 degrees of Sag. Square definitely brings a great deal of growth, because it's a pain, a frustration, an irritation that makes us have to take an action. And in making us have to take an action, it's like we are able to, it's like playing chess. And the squares are like, you're like in the corner, you're like, oh, but then you got to make a move. You got to make a move. And then so that's where the growth comes. Your move may suck. And this is where we learn to course correct, say sorry, apologize, be like, oh, I'm already thinking of my apology speech in case I do run into my ex-husband or the person I was married to, who I think we're divorced. I'm already thinking of like, oh, well, I was abused as a child, and I was going through this trauma, and I was thinking about this too, like all of our traumas and things that we went through, It's still our responsibility. Like how we react and respond to our traumas is still our responsibility. And there is a level. I mean, at 18 years old, I had no therapy. I should have been in therapy for, like, I got court ordered, not court ordered, but like it was part of a court case that was like, this person, this young lady is entitled to this many therapy sessions. And for whatever reason, I didn't go. I did go to therapy later, but we are messy, especially when we haven't processed. We haven't like looked at the things that happened and our emotions around those things, and then we just act them out unconsciously until some, by the grace of goddess, we are able to recognize that we are self-perpetuating ancestral patterns of abuse and trauma, and that at some level we're able to finally, like, hey, I really want to work on this. There's a book called Ancestral Medicine, so good, and it streams right in perfectly with this Mars and Chiron conjunction that we're having right now. Virgo sun in the 11th house. Okay, so Virgo sun. So we got Virgo. Oh, okay. I was looking for Gemini and Sagittarius because that's where the moon is. That's where the sun and moon is. Okay, I'm trying to get a group together. I'm reading these questions now. Definitely feel free to drop in and let me know where the sun moon opposition, what house those are interacting with for you. Get to it, Grandma. Can I join? Yes, please join the Telegram group. I'll put the link, or if Justin, if you want to put that link in here, or maybe no, maybe you don't have it. If you do have it, put it in. If you don't, I'll add it down here. I always played chess, no checkers. Okay. How did you survive in the Navy when they were telling you what to do and how to do it? You were talking about hating people telling you how to do stuff. Oh my gosh. In the Navy, when people told me what to do and how to do it, I would smile and nod. And then I would go do it a different way because yeah, I would do it. I definitely would do it, and I would go above and beyond what they told me to do. So I really thrived in the Navy because I have a high degree of self-discipline and a high degree of pride in my work. I have Saturn in my 5th house conjunct my North Node. So that is definitely like I was killing it in the Navy because I have a good ability for being able to see that authority figure as an aspect of my own self. Irene, I love all your comments. So please keep it coming. You let me know when you want to come. They have 26 acres in the woods. Okay, can I buy like 5 acres and like live there with them? The house is huge, 4 bedrooms, and finish. Okay, so talk to your parents and make sure, and then maybe we can get something together. And if your mom, I mean, is she retired or what? Like, maybe we can get like another mom too to come out there and head this off and like teach us how to do these things that we need to do. Ancestral medicine book noted. This is really good. Okay. Eric says Sagittarius 2nd house. Do you have that? Oh, right. Because, okay, so Eric, you got Scorpio rising. I have Taurus rising. So this new moon, the full moon is hitting the same houses for both of us. It's just for Scorpio rising, Sagittarius is going to be your 2nd house, and Gemini will be your 8th house. People with Taurus rising are having the sun in Gemini in the 2nd house and moon in the 8th house in Sagittarius. Okay, so with this, Sagittarius in the second house, that means that the moon is shining bright, hitting the peaks of the ovulation phase in the lunation cycle in your house of security, luxury, money, pleasure, intimacy. With the second house, I always think about what money actually does for us. Like, what does it actually do for us? It gives us a sense of security. So we're not like having to like beg, steal, and borrow or like go shoot up the place to get what we need to feed our family. So there is this sense of like stability when we know that our needs, our basic needs are met or being exceeded, that we have this like cushion. So, with the moon during the lunation cycle being at this ovulation point, I'm imagining for you that there is this peak in the ability to create a sense of stability that exceeds your requirements for security. And because of all the things that we've gone through with the Mercury retrograding and with, Venus and Uranus conjunction, and like we have a lot of new information coming through, a lot of things that were composted with the eclipse, with that Mercury being aspected by Pluto during the Mercury retrograde. I'm imagining that this second house being with that lunation at the ovulation point, maybe even giving you a new sense of fertility and abundance, that fullness of like, I'm seeing like your kitchen cabinets. Maybe it's a time to like look in there and be like, oh, we do have these like bags of rice and these bags of beans. And then like, oh, we need some more of these kind of beans. Let's go ahead and like go to that website Anjani mentioned, foodstolive.com, and order ourselves the grits. I got like a 10-pound bag of grits. I'm not even kidding you, for like $13 or so. Or maybe it was $23. I don't know, but it was worth it because these are the best grits I've ever had in my life. And they're organic and they're very golden. And I just like feel so nourished when I eat them. So yeah, second house, I'm thinking about cupboards and fertility and abundance. Okay, so then the eighth house, Gemini moon, sun goes through your eighth house every time we're in Gemini season. So that sun in the eighth house can be like shining a light into all of your mysteries and the secret things that, um, what turns you on. And those things that turn you on can be in the form of music. It's an energy. So the eighth house has to do with energy. It's not tangible, but it's an energy that it bounces back and forth between the eighth and the second. So with that energy of an orgasmic experience, of some really good music, of a funeral, like, this sounds weird, but when you go to a funeral and that palpable grief of people crying and mourning the loss of somebody they loved, love is in the air, grief is in the air. It's the ecstasy and the trauma of life that we are able to really like feel the blessing of being able to take a breath, which inspires us to go and create. And that brings more of the real wealth of what it means to be alive, which influences that second house. I don't have the Telegram group link. I'll send that. It'll be in the notes here. Smile and nod, and you got 2 Navy Achievement Medals. Thank you. I know I'm incredible. Justin, I'll tell you about it. What I did to get the first one, I feel like was definitely earned because what I worked with a plastic surgeon and a vascular surgeon, and they had a backlog of like, I want to say like 600 patients who signed up for a treatment that they would have to pay for, sclerotherapy, and they just never got booked. So what I did was sat my little butt down in between clients and called everybody up, see if they're still there, they still interested, cleared the backlog, scheduled, I made a clinic. So I was like, hey, doc, we got this clinic. We're doing it every Thursday. I'm going to be working with you right here, side by side. And he's like, oh, cool. Got this cute young girl going to be my assistant. Scheduled all these patients, cleared the backlog, made a ton of money for the National Naval Medical Center where I used to work. At the end of it, I got awarded a Navy Achievement Medal, but I feel like it was mostly because of the amount of income that I was able to generate for the Navy. Anyway, digging the personal relationship with items. Yes, I want to show you this knife that I got. I got this bear knife because I was thinking like, you can go get a set of IKEA knives, or you can have somebody who makes knives and then hold the knife that the person made. It's a bigger energy that you're working with when it's a handmade item, as opposed to just an item that's made in a factory, probably by like slave labor and little children. It's not a good thing. So definitely having things that you value a lot. It's like the difference between me going to my friend's clothing company, buying a pair of her bamboo handmade pants that cost me $150, but I still have them and I bought them 10 years ago and they're in perfect condition, or going on Amazon.com and buying little thin pants made in China that they don't last that long. Mom and dad are retired. They could use some feisty witches out there. They love company. Figure out the dates. Cool. Let's definitely put that together. And I am not kidding. I would love to do that like this summer. That would be amazing. When the firefly out, if we can make it like line it up with the timing of fireflies. Okay, how you do the most mundane chore can be art. Even how you brush your teeth, make coffee would absolutely, Irene, absolutely. And the more artful that you get with those mundane tasks, the more you're able to blast up into your 12th house. Or even if it's not, forget the astrology, it's just polarity. The reason I love astrology so much is because I have a lens to talk about these things of polarity. But without the chart, making the mundane tasks be artful brings us into a transcendence of the sea of consciousness. If we're not talking astrology, if we are, it's the 12th house. If we're not, it's the whole sea of consciousness. Doing a mundane task in an artful way brings us into a state of transcending middle world reality and going in middle world reality. So transcendence doesn't mean leaving. Transcendence means yes and. Yes and. So there's an acceptance of the body and an acceptance of the tactile sensations of pain and pleasure, feeling of loss, feeling of grief, feeling of pleasure and joy. And yes to all of that. And what is that? And it's variable from time to time. Okay, seeing value in the beauty. I love this thought. Death clears room for life. Absolutely. Backlog of 600. Corman up. Okay. Thank you. The Virgin, Virgo, Pisces spirit. Absolutely. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So, session 3 of conversations that I cannot have. I'm going to be talking about this thing of Irene says you're a brilliant teacher. That touches me so much because I have a wound around that. And that's going to be, that's episode 3 of the conversations I cannot have. I'm going to be talking about that wound of, yeah, so into that later. So I think we are complete here. Thank you all so much for joining live. I am really loving this live format that is not for pay, because before I had this thing called the channel and it was only people who paid. We did it on Zoom and it was more like I could do a share screen and pull up people's chart and go through that. And that was really fun. But I'm really enjoying this a lot. So let's just keep it up. I've been really good about the weeklies. Last week I missed because I was grinding away doing a ton of massages, which that's my trade. That's the thing I was doing mostly to make money. And I got booked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I had 4 massages. And then on the Wednesday, I had 5 massages, 13 massages within a 3-day period. So I didn't get to jump on last week, but we have been very consistent. So let's meet back here again next Monday. Thank you all so much. And I love you. I appreciate you. If you don't have, hey, Ayano, fire back to you. I'm going to put the links and the codes and all that so you can get the Chiron course for free and the invite link into the Telegram group. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful full moon. And I look forward to connecting with you all again soon.